Okay, when you unbox your box and take out your banner, it's going to look like this. Everything has been traced in a Sharpie marker. If you want to retrace some of this with Sharpie marker when it's finished, you may. Make sure it's dry. If it's not completely dry, it will ruin the Sharpie marker. You may want to wait a day and then do it. These need to be sprayed with a clear acrylic spray if they're outside. Hanging inside, it's fine. It won't fade, it won't run, it won't do anything once it's dry. I will also include a paint pen. The black paint pen has to be charged. You shake it up, but only with the lid on it. And then you charge it by bumping it up and down. Okay, this one's not working. I'll have one that does work. But then you can trace it with the paint pen if you choose to. I usually use a very small detail brush. I like the longer ones, and I've got one right here, because I can control it really well. You don't have to use a detail brush, but you may. Now, because Facebook does sometimes cut it off, I am going to paint my background to save that time. The only thing you need to know with the background is choose a bottle color. This was Caribbean blue, my choice. You can use any color you want. It's still a little splotchy here and there, but that doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, let it dry and paint over it again. For a palette, I am using a foam plate. You may use a paper plate. You may even use a china plate. Those work really great, and when the paint's dry, it will peel off. Reason you choose a bottle color, whether it's this size or this size, is that if, when you're painting, you drop paint on here someplace, then you can just open up the lid, take your finger, and put it on there to get rid of it, or paint over it. If you mix your own colors, and a lot of times, if I was just doing this for myself, I would mix some white in and leave it a little mottled looking in the background. But I didn't for your banner, because this way, if it gets messed up, it's so easy to correct it. Now, when I painted it, I let the brush do the work. I loaded the paint up and I put it right next to it, and I pulled my brush. Do not push your brush, it won't do as well. I'm sure Sarah can give you some hints. But load it up and go around everything. And it's so simple, and then you get the background done. The next thing I'm going to do is paint the face. I didn't think I had a flesh color. This one says medium flesh. So I mixed up my own. Look what I did. This is the medium flesh. This is what I mixed. It's slightly lighter, but I got really, really close. I'm shocked. It doesn't have to be a flesh tone. This is supposed to be some kind of feed sack or something on that nature. And an old pillowcase or whatever they use to make their scarecrow. But I'm just going to put out a good amount of this onto my plate. And I'm going to use a medium brush. This one I like. I like the flat ones. You can use any brush that you have. I'm going to paint over everything on the face, except for the eyeballs. I'm just going to paint up right next to that black line. Go over the nose. Go over the hair. Spread out the paint. You don't want to leave any globs on it. And I'm going to probably paint quite a bit faster than you will. That's the power of video. It can stop and start. So I'm going to paint over that. If you get over the black lines, it's okay. you will probably notice you can still see the nose through here. You can still see the smile, and you can still see a faint outline of the cheeks. I did not go over those cheeks with the black marker because I didn't want it to show. I may come back and highlight with a little black on it. If I do, that's fine. I'm painting over his straw hair because we're going to paint it later anyway. I'm going to go right up next to this bird's beak. This is supposed to be a crow, but I know it doesn't look like a crow. They don't have that hook on the end of their beak. I just like the looks of that. If I'm painting a whimsical painting, I can paint it any way I want. You can paint it any way you want. I think that's a little dark. Let me see. Do I have to leave it this color? The reason I got and I put out way too much paint. Way too much paint. Because this has been base coated with white, it goes on so much smoother. If you're trying to paint onto raw canvas, it's a lot harder than it is when you're painting onto gessoed canvas. And these have all been gessoed with my special recipe. It's really, really tough. I took white house paint and I mixed a little baking soda in it. It makes it more like a chalk paint. And I painted over it real quickly. For some of you that are sewers, I bought this fabric at Walmart. It's duck, D-U-C-K, fabric in a medium weight. And I painted the fabric before I cut it out. Because what it does, when it's been pre-painted, it will not ravel on you. That's so cool. It won't ravel out on you. I'm going to add a little white and a little yellow to yours. If you like this color, don't change it. If you want to change it a little bit, I'm going to mix a little white and yellow together with it to make it more of a wheat color. And I'm just mixing it up, and I'm just going to add it here and there. I'm not going to worry about getting it everywhere. You see, I'm just kind of going over it, hit or miss. I like that color better, but that doesn't mean that you have to use it. This kind of gives it more the straw looking color that I was really wanting. Is it easier and better if you use the bottle color? Well, it is when you're going to change things. If you make any kind of boo-boo, you can change it. Now, I've got to get up for a second. I forgot to get me some water that I need over here. Just 1 second, lady. Now, when I'm washing my brush, the first thing I do is put it on a dry paper towel and get most of the paint out of it, and then rinse it, and then dry it off again. Alrighty. Next thing I'm going to paint is the shirt. Remember, I can still see these lines that are underneath here. I'm going to paint a plaid shirt. If you choose not to do this, don't worry about it. If you choose to make it a solid color, it can be a red shirt. It can be, well, whatever color you want. Notice that when I'm painting over these letters, I'm still seeing through it. I can see through this paint, and I can see those letters. I like to repeat the colors because I used the yellow and white up in the face. I started with the yellow. The yellow is a nice bright color, and it's showing up well. What happens if I get a little bit over into the face color? Let me do it on purpose. Ah, I got stuff up in there. Because I have that color already in there, I don't have to do anything except spread it out just a little bit and that's gone. If yours is just the flesh tone or whatever color you painted the face, you may have to paint over it. Acrylic paints will paint over each other. That's no problem. Now I'm putting out some more yellow and white because I'm going to be painting the straw up there with yellow and white. I'll put out a little bit more than I need for this process I'm doing right here. I'm just dipping my brush in the white and the yellow to make this yellow not quite so bright. Then I am going to do some horizontal strokes. Plaid shirts go both directions. I'm going to come in with an orange because I'm going to have an orange nose and paint over it. If you don't worry about keeping your lines straight. Should they be straight? Well, they're not if they're on a body. They're not if they're stuffed with straw and have a contour. I'm trying to paint them straight just as a background. Remember, now notice over when I get to this side, instead of painting all that way, I'm going back the other direction. But I am still pulling the brush. Remember, you always pull the brush the direction you want it to go. If you push the brush, it flips those bristles out and makes a mess. Okay, that's pretty much all I need to do. Oh, I got a little dot there. If you get little dots here and there that you don't want, you can get rid of them. The next color I'm going to use is orange. Now I want the orange to be a thinner stripe. Guess what? Let me see if I can thin that orange out to the consistency we want. This is a thinner brush. I don't know, this orange is really clumpy. If I add some water to it and stir it up, that's fine. I got one that I can live with. This is a smaller brush. Turn it on its side when I'm going across here. That's not straight. You're not really going to even notice that once you get into here. Okay. Now, you can still see these letters really well. When this paint is completely dry, we can go back in and paint those letters, one of the last things we do. Okay, it's only been 5 minutes. I'm kind of watching the time because after about 15 or 20 minutes, I am going to stop the video on part 1 and then restart it for part 2. Now I've got my horizontal stripes. What do I need to do now? Of course, my vertical. That kind of stirred up the other paint. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm just wanting to get him fall colored plaid shirt. It is not imperative that you paint it that straight, that particular. Now I will be doing some pinstripes. I was going to use the turquoise, but I don't know if I want turquoise on here or brown. So I've got a decision to make. Remember, on yours, it's your decision also. You may not want the colors I'm using, and that's fine. Oh, that's bright and happy. The black letters will show up really, really well on top of this. And I'm going to put a very thin purple line over here. Purple, listen to that. Orange line. I'm going to come in here and make this brighter. For some reason, this first one wasn't very bright. Now I got a little orange right here. If that's still bothering me later on, I'll take care of that. That's too white in there. I'm going to give it a little color. I don't know if this is going to look good. You know what? If I don't like it, I can always take it out. That is way too dark. How do you lighten up any color? Of course, with white. Let me take a little bit of this color. Since it's straight bottle color, I can get rid of that orange with this color. And I just use my fingers because it's just so much easier. I think earlier I had decided I was going to paint his shirt yellow green, and I didn't do that. Yellow green would have been a wonderful color. But it's too late now. I like the colors I've used. Now, here's what I'm doing. I'm taking some white and putting just a touch of that turquoise in it. And I'm going to try just a thin little line here. Oh, it is turning to green here and there where it's hitting that wet yellow. I don't mind that at all. In fact, I kind of like it. Let's do that every other one. And then if I think I need more, I can always come and paint between it. The only problem with a complicated background like this is that if you need to straighten up something, let's say your letters got a little wonky and you wanted to straighten it up, it's going to be harder to straighten it up with a patterned background, but you don't have to be precise. I am not being precise. You know, I don't think I like it every other one. Look how easy it is to come back in here and fix that where it's every one. My lines are not that thin. They are straight and a little wonky here and there. That's okay. People are not going to be looking at this and judging you harshly. They're going to look at it and say, oh my, that's cute. Where did you buy that? And you're going to say, I painted it. And they're going to say, will you paint me one? And you say, whatever you want to say. But there's going to be several there. Maybe somebody else can get supplies because the videos are going to be up for a while and paint their own. Or maybe you will help them paint it. I love it when my students become teachers. Now I'm having to mix up a little bit more of this paint. And if it's the same color, wonderful. If it's a little different, that doesn't bother me either. Touch of this, a touch of that, and smear it around. That's all there is to it. Now that's a happy fall plaid shirt. Now could we put a patch on it? Sure, if you want to, go ahead. I'm not going to put a patch on it. I've done on some of my things. Because I'm not going to paint it a straw hat. I don't think it's supposed to be a straw hat. So I am going to paint the hat in another color. Wash your brushes out right away. This is a really good brush. I want to keep it clean. So I wash it right away. Remember, you can take care of it. I'm going to turn this to make it easier for you. Actually, I'm going to turn it to make it easier for me. And I think you're going to be able to see it just fine. I'm going to paint this hat purple. It's not going to stay all purple. What I'm going to do with it, brand new bottle. This is Apple Barrel. It's the paint that you buy at Walmart. I like better quality paint, but most of them come in these little bitty bottles, and it's more economical to buy the big ones. And although sometimes it needs 2 coats of paint, that's not a problem. Okay, so I apologize for you watching me open paint. And that needs to be pierced. There's a plastic film that didn't come off. There we go. Now I know this is going to look strange, but it's easier to cover over with black than it is. I'm going to use this round brush. Why? Just because. To come back and cover over it with black than it is to get the purple to show up on the black. Stay within those lines the best you can. If you get over them, that's not a problem. Remember, we've got straw hair that's going to come out, but I'm going to paint up right next to that, and I can come over with white and then paint the straw hair on top of it. This is a really pretty color. I just got some on the headband. That's okay. Come in between those. I can just kind of slop this on because we're going to cover over it with the straw hair. Notice what I'm doing with the brush. I'm letting the brush do the work. I'm laying it down and pulling it. Laying it down and pulling it. That way, I get nice, even coverage. Now this is my design, but you're going to find some similar to this on Pinterest or other sites that you go to. When you decide on a design to paint, find something you like and kind of make it your own. We could make this face a lot simpler by just putting little dots, little black dot or big black dots with little white dots in them. But I like the big eyeballs. If it's my design, I can decide how it goes. Notice I still put out a lot of purple. You should start with a 1/4 size dot of paint, and then if you need more, add to it. And I put too much out. It's very easy to do, and sometimes when you just kind of squeeze the bottle, it goes split, and you get way too much. Load the brush, lay it down, and pull it right up next to your line. You can go back in and do it. I like using the flat brushes. I chose the round one just to show you that you can do it either way. It doesn't matter which way you go. Sometimes when I'm painting, I get really quiet. Sometimes I have music on in the background. I didn't know if it would be distracting if I played music in the background on this one or not. And if you're hearing a buzzy sound, I apologize. I need to get an external microphone instead of using my iPhone mic because sometimes it does buzz. I lived in Muskogee for almost 40 years. Well, actually more than 40 years. I taught public school there. I retired from Sadler Arts Academy. I was a member of the Muskogee Art Guild, the Wagner Art Group. And people here in Pennsylvania, I moved here because of grandchildren, make fun of my accent. I bet I don't sound at all strange to you. You Oklahoma ladies probably think I sound just fine. Nobody likes hearing themselves. Remember, this is a blackbird also because he's crow-like, but I want some of this purple to show on him as well, so I'm going to base him in. I don't know why I like my birds to look so mean. I just think it's funny. If you want to get rid of that expression that I painted on the crow, change it. Paint over it. Covering up anything, the best way to do it is a layer of white. Let it dry. Go back. Now I got over that line on purpose. I wanted it to be nice and smooth. Lay the brush down. Let it work. Lay the brush down. Let it work. I'm painting. Then my next step is black. I am not going to let this dry in between because the purple is just going to be kind of an undercoat. My black is another big one. My palette is getting, and look at the flesh tone that I made over here is running. That's because I'm picking it up. It doesn't matter if it runs a little bit. If it runs together, just move it around a little bit. Now I'm going to let a lot of that purple show, but I'm going to come in here with the black and kind of paint over it. And it paints really easily, guys, because we've got another layer of paint on here. Some of this is going to appear a little gray. That's okay. Wipe off your brush if you want to paint a lighter coat. I'm going to let that purple peek through. I'm getting some of this on the sunflower that we're going to paint in a minute. That's okay. This is darker down here because it's the underside, so I'm going to get quite a bit more right here. I'm going to let a little bit of the purple peek through. Notice how I left a purple line. I did that by coming right next to it and leaving some. Let me paint over some of this and spread it out. Leave that purple line a little bit. You know, if you want to, you can skip the purple step completely and paint it your hat color. It can be whatever color you decide is the color of a Scarecrow hat. I'm going to choose a color for my hat band, and then I'm going to call it finished for this part 1. And then I'm going to show you some more detail work for part 2. I don't like to keep changing colors. I think my hat band is going to be orange. The reason I'm making my hat band orange is because we have orange in the shirt. I like to repeat colors that I'm using. And when you're painting this, if you leave a streak of white in there, that's okay. It won't hurt it at all. In fact, we may even go back and put some streaks of white here and there. But when we do that, it has to be dry. Notice I put just a little bit of orange in my sunflower. And before I stop this video, I'm going to go back with white right in there where the black got on the sunflower. I'm going to put a little bit of the white from my palette on it so that when I paint it yellow, it will cover that. Okay. Oh, while I've got this going, I'm going to go in with the purple, with the black on my bird. And paint him some black in there. leaving some of that purple showing. To show up that wing, I'm going to leave a little line of purple in there. I've about decided the next one I paint, I'm not going to paint the purple. You ladies talk it over. If you want to skip that step, skip that step. Be rebels. I do like the purple in it, but it could be added later. Now I went over the edge of that beak. It's not going to make that much difference. Leaving some of that purple showing, laying my brush down, pulling it up, laying my brush down, pulling it up. Okay, this is the end of part 1. When we come back, we're going to do details.